Good afternoon. Welcome to the session from Policy to Pipeline, how OSPOs can power regulatory readiness and upstream impact. Myself, Arun Azhakesan. Today I have with me Ayan. So together we would be taking you through the two aspects of compliance and security that is being discussed right now in the community. So how we convert policy or how we devise policy and how we convert them, or how does it appear when it gets converted to the technical aspects of implementing those policies in a pipeline. So today, a brief about ourselves, and then the first part would be OSPOS and policy that would be taken by myself, and Ayan will take you through a live demo of some of the policies that we talk about and how, in practical, how do we implement that. So about me, I am heading the secure development lifecycle within the cybersecurity technology for Siemens Healthineers. We are into medical device manufacturing, and I'm also the project co-lead for Software 360, Eclipse Software 360. It's a community project. Earlier there was a question. It's a component catalog. So maybe later towards the end of the session, if you have specific questions, we could take that. Ayan?
Hi. Thank you, Arun. Hi, I'm the core maintainer of ScanCode, and About Code is a non-profit FOSS organization that works on open source tools and open data to look into what's in your software and look into your license issues and security issues that you might have and into all of your dependency tree. And we have other projects that we maintain and About Code. Thanks. And go ahead.
So let's talk about the policy part. So how many, among you have received a compliance questionnaire for software security from the software security, supply chains in the last 6 months? Okay, so I'll take that as all of you. So let's see why are we here? So the global regulatory pressure is kind of intensifying. Different countries in its capabilities and different global organizations are coming out with their regulations, particularly into software security. So the most talked about one is the EU Cyber Resilience Act, which is going into effect, or it is already in effect, and the deadlines are coming later this year, later next year. And it all started up with, the former US President Biden signing the US executive order mandating SBOMs for all software supplied to the US government agencies. And recently, from India, we have the SEBI releasing the requirements for all the financial institutions to maintain a record of software that is being used, distributed in all the tool chains in the respective domains. So what that means is, the transparency, traceability, and proactive security. These all are, really important when it comes to the regulatory requirements, and all the government agencies across the world are kind of very serious about it. So, on the one side, they are talking about, publishing policies or regulations and asking the industry to abide by it. But is the industry ready yet? No. But are we in the right direction? Yes. So, like every complicated process out there, meeting these regulatory requirements, especially when we have large enterprise organizations with a lot of legacy code, which do not have a solution for solution to meet these modern requirements. Yes, the modern tech companies and their modern technologies do have the capability and the infrastructure to get this information, but large companies, say, like mine, Siemens Healthineers, we are into medical device manufacturer, and our code base is like 25, 30 years old, and our devices are in the field for 20 to 30 years. So for us, it's a very complicated scenario when it comes to meeting requirements. So within the company itself, we are like divided into two sections, like one with the projects that has the legacy aspect of it, which often ends up in the complicated part, and then the modern ones, which right now, gladly, because of the influence of open source community like OASP and Cyclone DX, have a endless list of tools that can cater to your needs. Like it's plug and play. You name the technology, there is a tool out there for you. It's a matter to configure it in your pipeline, and bam, your SBOM is ready. So uh, earlier, Kiran talked about OSPOs. So are OSPOs ready for this moment? The fact is, yes, we are. And all the organizations, whether they are officially called OSPO or not, for all the organizations, there were some people, some teams who always looked into these aspects. So currently, they are in the right cusp, of this transition, because compared to other traditional teams, we, the OSPOs, have years of expertise in resolving dependencies. They have extended their relationship with external communities, and they are quite familiar with the existing compliance frameworks and also the evolving frameworks. And most of them would be, in a way or the other, part of these frameworks. And the understanding of the ecosystem in a quite strategic way is quite natural for the OSPO team. So OSPOs do have the advantage over traditional teams who often do some reactive activity based on certain requirements that may come during an audit or not. So how can an OSPO go from a gatekeeper to an enabler? So in the traditional approach, the team members act as compliance gatekeepers. And the initial response is that, oh, no, don't use that software. We have to do a lot of compliance activity if we want to use that. So better you don't use it, find something else. And it's like mostly about, at the quality gate, somebody would have a checklist, and then, they only worry about, okay, did they do this? Did they do this? So that was the kind of the traditional approach. And the whole activity was, kind of a reactive auditing method. So they only worry at the time of a audit or so. So OSPOs can change that. They can become enablers, because we kind of, the OSPOs can act in a very proactive way. They can engage with the development community, work together with them, and define these policies, or help them set up the pipeline right in the development environment, so that the compliance activities become part of the engineering. Because there is often a misconception that the engineering team will do something, and then they give the rest of it to the compliance team, and they expect us to fix it. But the truth is, if the engineering doesn't do it, the compliance team cannot fix it. So it is very important that we have to work together with the engineering team, because often this is quite of a misconception in the organizations between teams, because teams have a different view. They tend to view the OSPO team as some kind of a quality team. So they feel that, okay, they are here to check something. But no, they should understand that we are with them to enable them to do their work more effectively. So when you build a OSPO compliance framework, the first point, or the baseline, or the foundation, should be the process integration. So the compliance should not, as I said earlier, it should not be a checklist later. It should be embedded in the development workflows, right from the CI/CD pipeline. And one of the most important thing right now, most of the organization miss, is regarding the community collaboration, mostly upstream security contributions. We have these open source code that we take from the community and we use it. And if we come across a security problem, we fix it. But we often forget to contribute it back to the community, because we have fixed it for our use and it resides in our code base, but that doesn't create value. But that being there at a later point of time would create a technical debt or an additional overhead for you, because you would gradually develop a gap between the upstream and the version that you use. So it is very important that to often take a upstream first policy. If you are consuming an open source and modifying it, if you're making changes, make it part of the policy that you upstream those changes, so that you stay at par with the community. And creating this ecosystem intelligence. So it is always important to have real-time monitoring of vulnerability management, because we all know about the Log4j problem, and we came to know it after it happened. So right now we have a lot of tools out there, especially guided by OASP community. We have the dependency track, which can be embedded in the CI/CD pipeline, and the moment a vulnerability gets reported, you get an alert. So that real-time monitoring is the solution, and that should be implemented as part of your development workflow. So why upstream engagement is a strategic aspect, and it is not optional. You have to do it, because as I said, it will give you early visibility onto the risk and the mitigations that you need to take. And the best of the part is you can have a strategic influence over a community. If take my example, like we started using Software 360. In fact, Siemens founded the project together with Bosch in 2013 or 14, and then we were contributors. And at a later point of time, when we carved out into Siemens Healthineers, and I got the opportunity to lead the community project there. And it gave us a lot of advantage. Like, we had some specific requirements. We were able to influence the community. We were able to put in the resources and bring those changes and contribute it upstream. So the entire ecosystem can, take the value out of it. It is not just, any changes that we bring is limited to our organization, but we make a policy. Any changes that we make is upstream first. So the strategic influence would come in handy when you engage more with the open source community. And through that, you create key relationships with, in the CRA terms, we call these foundations as open source stewards. So as an organization, it is important to have key relationships with influencing entities like foundations, because it can change the dialogues. Because initially the CRA came up, there was no consultation done with the community, and there was a lack of clarity in terms of a normal developer who's maintaining the code, and he's responsible to provide security updates. But then the open source initiative and few other communities, engaged with the European Union and had a dialogue. And as a result, they made a clarification on this point, and this open source stewards came up after that. So all these steps would enable you to future-proof, because these regulations are, going to evolve as we go. And keeping at par with those will help you future-proof and will help you in mitigating the risk that will keep on coming up in one way or the other. So how OSPOs can engage strategically? From a security point of view, security-focused contributions, as I said, giving the security fix back to the community, vulnerability disclosure, participation, and also security tooling development, because all of the organizations are, trying to find the solution for the common problem. Because even if we have our own IPs and other things, the topic of security and compliance is common. Everybody is trying to, identify vulnerabilities, monitor them, fix it, or identify open source dependencies. So what we are working here for is a common solution. So you can engage in tool development, participate in open source projects, publish your internal tools if it makes value for others, and risk assessment collaboration. So all these security focus aspects, if you check into the OWASP community, they have a set of tools and specifications, the Cyclone DX specifications, which would allow all of these aspects. And you can participate in defining or updating specification, especially the SBOM specifications like SPDX, Cyclone DX, etc. And participate in community activities, for example, like these conferences, and share best practices. And also, one important aspect is sustainable investment, meaning, we are all consumers of open source code. We don't pay a penny to any one of them. But it makes a lot of sense if you can support these developers. If you are taking a lot of value out of the community, it is important to give it back. You can give it by supporting the open source developers. You have the sponsorship program in GitHub. You can, fund other activities, or maybe common community meets up, etc. And basically, if you invest in keeping the ecosystem healthy, you are also at the benefit because you are part of it in the larger context, and it would definitely benefit you. And all this would come up to relationship building. It's not just between people, it is between larger organizations, even if they tend to be competitors out in the field. But here, when it comes to security and compliance, we are all trying to solve a common problem, and each of them can value out of this interaction. So in your OSPO journey, like usually begins with reactive compliance, where the developers would curse the person who comes and asks them these questions, as how Kiran started the talk. What is this? What is that? So that's the reactive compliance, and it is mostly manual and ad hoc. And next, you can elevate yourself to automated compliance, where you integrate the pipelines and automate policy enforcement. So that means when you do that, the developers doesn't feel that such a process exists. It is so amalgamated with that whole workflow. So they feel it is part of their work. And by doing that, you can move into a strategic compliance where you upstream engagement and you take leadership in these activities so that you can drive these things in a very sustainable way. So the next part, as I talked about automated compliance, so integrated pipelines and automated policy enforcement. So Ayan here would take you through a demo on how to do that with a set of open source tools under About Code Foundation. It's an amazing tool stack. We are using in the organization multiple tools like ScanCode in its integrated form. It's a lot of value. So over to you, Ayan. Thanks. So we have to switch slides for a bit.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Arun, for that amazing presentation. And we'll go through a couple of the same things that Arun mentioned and show you a pipeline on how to do kind of these things with open source tool, open data, and open instances. So this is from an open chain tooling group data. So here you see what are the kind of things that you can do with open source tooling, which helps you ready for the compliances that are there, right? So here you see like license and copyright scanner. Here I will switch between these so you can see the similar thing, how you can do that with an open source tool. For example, here you scan a package. This is a ScanCode.io instance. This is one instance that you use. So here in a new project, you get to select the pipelines. Here for license and copyright analysis, we will use the scan single package pipeline. And here in the download URL, you can either paste the download URL or you can mention the package URL or you can upload the files, right? So here I have something that I scanned earlier. This is a package URL. This is a NPM project that you can see here. Now, for this, here is the scan summary. So this has the licensing information on how the license is mentioned in the package. Is it adequate? Are there copyright holders? Other kind of things, the key files where the license and copyright is present. And you can always dive into the details and see where the license is and where the copyright is for a specific file, right? So next, we can look at maybe container content resolver or container scanning. So here you have Docker scan. This is a Fedora 41 Docker image. So here you don't really have to upload anything. You can just mention the Docker URL kind of thing that they have, and ScanCode will download it automatically and scan it for you. Here also you have this scanned for packages and license issues. Here for the package view, you have all the declared licenses. You can also specify very easily license policy. It looks like this file. So you mention the key and the expression that you want to set a policy for. This is very like specific to your organization. You can do this also from the settings where you can have patterns for files that you want to ignore, like tests and docs, ignore a specific dependency scope like dev dependencies, ignore vulnerabilities that you say is not applicable, and here you have policies, right? There are also webhooks to set up like, connection to Slack and other things like that. Next is we can look at like package scanner and like source package downloader. In that sense, we'll go back, and here you have a package from Node, and we have specified this download URL here. We will look at the same projects, but here it's also with the same input, but here we have only scanned it for packages. So what this also has a static resolver selected, so it will create packages for already resolved packages. And like here you have a simple dependency tree for this. It takes a bit of time, we'll see. And then here in the same package scan, we are doing a couple of things. So PearlDB is a database of package metadata. So when you use enrich with PearlDB, what happens on the background is through an API, we send package URLs to that database, and that database scans the source of the package, the binary of the package, and package metadata that is present, and it adds all that to your systems. For example, this one has packages which we don't have any metadata for, because of course this is just taken from a package log.json and there is no metadata. But here for the packages, you have all the declared licenses, copyrights, and all other data like homepage and where you can file the bugs, all of that.
Yeah, I just want to add on to connect this particular aspect to the question that you asked earlier regarding the enrichment of different fields in an SBOM. So depending on the tool that you use to generate the SBOM, different tools have different maturity right now. Say, for example, NPM would give you most of the fields. Something else would not give that, but there are dedicated tools also for enriching an SBOM, and it's a core process in the life cycle of an SBOM. After it is generated, you can do enrichment based on the minimum elements that your organization, or if you are going by the NTIA minimum elements required. In our case, it is required for FDA submission. So such information, like as he showed in the PearlDB, based on a package URL which would be there in the SBOM, you can identify other relevant information which would help you to enrich the SBOM, which then can be used in multiple toolings like sent for vulnerability management, then the creation of VEX document, such processes. So it's kind of a series of tools that you can put in the pipeline. And here, with time limitation, we cannot go through it, but the entire tool set is being explained in short time.
So I just did a load SBOM from like here you can see from this package you can export a CycloneDX or SPDX or other SBOMs. It looks just like that. You have the metadata and components and all that. But basically what I did then is to load this. Where is it? Here, okay. And here we have a load SBOM pipeline which can load these results. So for example, if you, as Arun was just saying, download a SBOM from other source, you can then enrich it with data that we have from PearlDB using the enrich from PearlDB pipeline, right? So we also have back to source, which looks at like a binary and a source, and looks at which part of the source is being mapped into the binary. And here you can see, if you look at review items, you can see that there are a couple of binaries included which we don't account for. So these are being downloaded from somewhere else, right? So that's all of it. And then there's just one more thing, which is vulnerabilities. If you see here, I have scanned a package which is PNPM, and here you have vulnerable packages. So if you see, we have used the find vulnerabilities pipeline, which links to our public PearlDB, which we will show in a moment. Here you have in the packages a vulnerabilities tab. And if you click at this link, it takes you to public.vulnerablecode.io, which is something that is also available publicly. You can request for an API key here, and it comes in your email very quickly. And then here you can see all the details for that vulnerability, the CV and GHSA IDs, the fixed by versions, for example, this is vulnerable for this packages and fixed by these packages. This is all publicly available. You can also see exploits or EPSS or other references like severity scores like CVSS 3.1, CVSS 4. All of that is available. You can also see the pipelines that we run here, which runs every day to populate vulnerabilities and like update this from all the known vulnerabilities sources. And after all this, you have Deja code, which has scancode.io, PearlDB, and vulnerable code all rolled into one. And it helps you to add products. And then this is also FOSS, by the way. And it lets you do the inventorying of that. Oops.
So basically, once you have collected all the SBOMs, say Deja Code is a platform where you can load the SBOMs and see it in a project form. In a project, how many dependencies does it contain? What is the relationship? How many components are allowed as per the organizational policy, etc. So such configurations can be done in Deja Code. So this is also some tool similar to Software 360, but with a lot of CI/CD integration capabilities. So all of these, just for your benefit, anything that you see with the word code at the end is part of About Code foundation, and anything, say Perl DB, then there is a Delta code to find difference between packages. So all of these are part of this. So we are towards the end of our time. Maybe 2 or 3 minutes more after I finish this for questions.
Just one thing, just will show you how to generate an attribution from all this. So here, if you see, we generate this attribution document from all the packages and licenses. This uses a template, so you can always define your own template. So you'll have all the licenses and their notices mentioned here. For example, this is the packages, and at the end, you have all the notices with their copyrights and everything. So that's one way how you have attribution for the code that you have and generate that, because that's to regulate with that.
From a compliance point of view, that document that you saw right now is kind of the final output, and this is the most wanted item at the end of the workflow.
Yeah, and you can also load SBOMs and compare what is changed across different product versions in Deja code. And yeah, I think that should do it. We also have public.pearldb.io. This is also available for public use. You can see we have about 23 million packages scanned here, and all this data is publicly available. This has endpoints like collect, which goes by package URL and gets you the metadata. I think that's all.
I know 15 minutes is too less to talk very much detail into a list of these tools. Another 2 minutes for questions before we move for the next speaker. If you have questions, please use the mic so that it gets recorded.
Can we import the SPDX or any of the SBOM into the scan code?
Yes, we can. That was what I was showing you. So here you have a load SBOM pipeline. Here I have uploaded a Cyclone DX SBOM, but you can also use a SPDX SBOM here and load it in the same way. You just drop it and then run a pipeline, and all the packages and dependencies and metadata, whatever is there, gets imported, and then you can run enrichment or other things and again export a SBOM. So that is the whole pipeline that we were talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. There, can we have the mic?
Can you share the mic?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to know whether it is capable of the snippet matching.
Yes. Oh, I actually fully forgot that part. Okay. So you have a snippet matching algorithm here. So for example, we match for AI-generated code. This is what the prompt is used. So we scan about 50,000 most popular NPM packages, and then we index them, and then we go to the ChatGPT here in example, and we have this prompt that generate code for this package or for this thing, and then these are those things which come from ChatGPT, and then we run the match to match code pipeline, which does a couple of things. It matches for packages, files, directory trees, and also does file matching and approximate file matching, in where you can see 30 packages to NPM are matched. And here you, for example, see here, this is the same project, and here you have matches from this part of the code to this part of the code, which is in Node.js string decoder, which is the same that we think. So this is like approximate snippet matching. You can use it also for AI generated code detection kind of. Thanks.
Just a last question. Do you, in future, want to automate about the obligations as well, like TLDR or something? Do you have plans doing it?
I think currently for obligations, in Software 360, we have the capability. There is a community called OSADL. So they have published a list of obligations. I think right now the number stands around 120 licenses or so. So Software 360, you can automate it, but also the Deja Code
Yes.
toolkit also has the policy enforcement in a way.
So you, for example, have all the obligations, like whatever you need to redistribute or what is allowed or not. And you have a public instance of this also. It is, I think, public.dejacode.com.
Yeah, the other fact is you can actually configure these policies in the pipeline. So it is, you would have an allow or do not allow list in your company, and then you can configure it to address that.
Yes. So the policy setting is allowed in both Deja Code and ScanCode.io and also Software 360.
Yes.
So many of these open source tools support this. We also had this slide here too. So other FOSS tools here, you can see.
Yeah, we would update the slides in our presentation deck a little bit after this. It's not the updated one that you will see right now in the schedule app, but we will put a link to all the tools that we mentioned here.
Other questions?
Sorry,
Thanks.
you're waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Rahul?
Thank you. Two questions. I'll let you decide how much you have time for. One of them is you talked about strategic process changes within organizations. Does that also mean you're talking about HR processes changes? Because in terms of when somebody in the org is contributing to open source, does that mean that their growth is reflected through those open source contributions? Is that used to evaluate their growth? Principal staff level employees, are they being pushed to be able to contribute to open source projects? And is that also something that is being used to decide whether or not you're hiring them? And the second question is, you talked about reacting to the policy landscape, right? Like new regulations are coming out, new policies are coming out, but are OSPOs also participating in creating new policies, right? Because a lot of them put out draft policies and there is a feedback period. So those are the questions.
Yeah, to answer your first question, yes, larger organization does have this as part of their employee evaluation. Yes, contributions to open source is seen very critical, and most of the organizations are kind of very encouraging to it. So for example, the Siemens has an open source manifesto published. So we have declared that, okay, we would prefer open source first. And their contributions are also tracked because we have a contribution policy based on the type of contribution. If you're contributing a project, then you have a set of rules. It has to go through a thorough review of the IP team, etc. But if you're contributing a fix or a small documentation, then there is a very lightweight policy to it. But each of these activity is measured. They have different, in different capacities, depending on their policy. And yeah, there are. It's not directly connected to HR policy, but yes, they do value this. And recently, in most of the organizations, instead of a resume, they just ask the GitHub username and then do the rest from there. The second question, whether OSPOs participate in this policy formation. Yes, not just during the commendation period, but especially most of the OSPOs who are very active in the European Union area, they do have a lot of impact or discussions along with the open source stewards or the foundations. So yes, they are very much part of the process.
One more thing I'd like to add to the first question is there's a lot of other community projects also to like measure metrics. Like for example, the Chaos project, Augur, and another tool, Grimoire Lab. They have very good tools to measure and see who is contributing, identify them, and like have that metrics. So that is also there with many open source tools that we plan to integrate.
Yeah, maybe just I just remembered. Just a shout out to the OpenSSF scorecard.
Yes.
This is a quite important aspect in terms of automating policies, because that you can directly implement this in your pipeline and then have a first-hand view on the security posture of an open source that you consume.
Yeah, we very recently integrated the OpenSF scorecard also in ScanCode.io.
Yeah, so anything that you find open source, it is integrated in the About Code toolkit. So
Yeah,
just ask him to integrate, he will do it.
gladly. Scorecard. Yeah, please.
I have
Question.
another question. So this code can be integrated with Kubernetes, like directly when I do a deployment, like if the image contains any of the policies, like when we enforce, like it's in the deny list, can it directly stop the deployment in Kubernetes?
Yes, if you configure it to be, then it can.
Okay, there's an option.
It's an
Yeah,
option,
for
yes.
example, here you have scan code action. So if you configure it in your CI such that, for example, there are many policies, right? For example, your license policy, vulnerability policy or anything. If you set that, so you can set it to fail or pass. And based on that, you can stop your deployment. For example, here it is for GitHub action.
So in general, we don't put a fail in these actions. Mostly it is a
Warning.
alert option.
Okay.
So that, because otherwise it is too much to stop a build for compliance, but often it goes into the alert level, and that has to be fixed before the release. That's how we process it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
I guess, thank you for your patience, and sorry for taking 5 more minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.